Hi, this is Jason from DTB Traders, and thank you so much for joining me for this educational video. This one is going to be covering the advanced retracement strategy. So I've outlined 9 of the reasons or 9 of the benefits of this strategy. One being it's very simple to understand. You can optimize it very quickly using the strategy analyzer. You can obtain your results pretty quickly. You can trade either trend or reverse and optimize both of those options. You can use daily targets and stops on your trading chart. You can also customize your specific time slots that you want to use in your strategy. You've also got the option to be able to add individual stops and targets per trade. You can use minute or tick bars, and it's got chart buttons, as you can see over there. So the first thing that we do, the method that I'm going to be sharing today is more for scalping the market. It's for analyzing specific periods of the day that you want to trade. So this is not a set and forget approach. In fact, no strategy out there is a set and forget approach. This one we are going to be using specifically to analyze very specific amounts of data and use those optimizations that we receive from those specific pockets of data to apply to our trading charts and even scalp it while the strategy is running. So I've got this document inside the Google Drive. So in your indicator properties, you're actually going to have a link to this folder where this is in. I've just put a screenshot of a strategy that I was running earlier, as well as the trading hours that I have selected, and I've actually put screenshots of the strategy analyzer itself that we'll be using in this video. So they are actually in the Google Drive folder, with the shortcut being in your settings of your indicator of your strategy. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go look at is the trading hours. So I have selected specific trading hours, and I would definitely recommend doing the same, especially if you're looking to trade the Asian session. The reason for that is because it's very hard to match up the chart with the strategy analyzer, just because NinjaTrader haven't quite got that right yet. So we have to create specific trading hour templates to be able to match up the data, but we'll look at that in a moment. So as an example, I've created for the Sunday open, I've created a time slot. I start from 6:15 p.m. so it's 15 minutes after the market open. It just ignores all the crazy price action and manipulation the first 15 minutes. So it only starts calculating the time slot or the trading hours from 6:15 p.m. and I run it until 3 a.m. because that is a similar type of market conditions within these hours. And then what I've actually done is I've created another session from 3:15 a.m. to 8 a.m. that will also encompass that section of trading hours. Now I have set my platform to UTC -5, which is New York, and the other session that I've set up is 10:15 to 4:15 p.m. so 10:15 a.m. to 4:15 p.m. so this is also just ignoring the open of US. It's trying to get the hours that are going to be consistent with similar market conditions. So you'll find that the market conditions between 10:15 and 4:15 p.m. you're going to have a lot of consistency in that period. So we're trying to avoid the crazy opening hours of New York and even London, and by setting them up. I've been playing around with a few different settings over there, but if you are trading the Asian Open, make sure you actually create a template like this. So you can go to any template that exists. You can even go to the 24/5 template. You click on copy and you can call it whatever you want over there. I put digits in front like that because it will come right on top of the list, and then you can go and edit any of these time slots, days. So that's how you create a template, and after you've done that, you click on the apply button, and that will basically create your template. Now the very next thing we're going to do with this specific approach is we're going to go open up a strategy analyzer. Now the strategy analyzer is going to give us a idea of what the market is doing and basically what the heartbeat of the market is for the current day. So we're going to go through from scratch to set up the optimization. And the good thing about this optimization, if you do this optimization and you go and download the data and run it on market playback or playback data, you're actually going to have the same results. So the first thing we're going to set up is optimization for the DTB Advanced Retracement Strategy. We're only going to use a retracement of between 10 and 10. So just basically one retracement value in this specific approach. And we're going to be selecting the trading type as trend and reverse. So trend and reverse, that just basically means that when the bars, if it's on trend and the bars are green, it's going to buy. If it's red, it's going to sell. Reverse is just opposite. So when the bars are green, it's going to sell, and when the bars are red, it's going to buy. So we're just looking at trend and reverse. So we're optimizing both directions. We don't have to worry anything about the version. This is where you're going to find your information. So you can see, review the folder called DTB Advanced Retracement Strategy. You can copy and you can paste this into your browser, and it'll bring up the folder with all the training documents for the indicators and the strategies. So I'll just minimize that for now. We're not going to be using stop ticks and target ticks in this approach. I may just show you just now what happens when you do use them, but I'm finding that with this specific approach that I'm going to be detailing, the target ticks and the stop ticks do not give better results. So I'm actually not going to be using the stops and the targets, so I'm just going to reduce that down. Strategy parameters, we're not going to be using the time slots in this example either, so I'm just going to reduce this. Trade size is how many contracts you want the strategy to enter at a specific time. So we're just going to leave that at 1. And data series, we're going to be working with the MNQ in this example. So MNQ, and we are going to be optimizing the data series. So if you look down a little bit there, it says optimize data series. I'm going to select that box. That's going to open up these values over here. So you can optimize different minute values, but I am going to work with the DTB analytical bars in this approach. And I'm going to be optimizing from 24 ticks to 144 ticks in increments of 4, and I'm setting my baseline width in ticks as 24. So we're going to go through a few options and look at why I selected that specific size, but we'll go through that in a moment. So that is the analytical bars for the size of the baseline and the tick value. We're going to be optimizing today's data. So we're actually going to select today's data. Now today is the 12th. Today's the 12th in the US. It's just gone 12:02 a.m. actually in New York. So it's showing 13. So I'm actually going to bring up the 12th, and I'm going to go until the 14th. So go a day ahead. So a day ahead, and the current day, it's just gone 12. I actually want to see the data for the current session. So that's why I'm selecting yesterday's date. And I'm actually selecting the open. So because it is Thursday in the US, we are going to be selecting the market opened on Wednesday. So Wednesday at 6:15 p.m. is when the market opened, or 6 p.m. So I've got my time slot set as Wednesday open 6:15 p.m. to 3 a.m. I'll leave the break at end of day on, that's fine. I want to include commission in my report, and I also want to include slippage. So it's important to include slippage and commission because you want to be able to get as accurate report as possible from the strategy analyzer. A lot of strategies, if you don't add commission and you don't add slippage, it's going to give you these incredible results, and that's the results you'll see a lot of vendors sharing. Look at these amazing results that the strategy gives out, and that's because they're not actually including commission or slippage. So it's just a real important thing to add if you want to look at something legitimate and accurate. Another thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be optimizing on max net profit. So once we've got all those settings, you can actually save this as a template. So when I like to save a template, I use the instrument name and then the bar sizes. So I'll go template, save, and I'm going to call this MNQ 24 to 144 with 24 baseline width. So there it is there. So MNQ 24 to 144, so that's the bar size, and the underscore is the baseline width. I know it might be a lot of information to take in right now, but set that up like that, save that, okay, and then you can run this optimization. So when you run this optimization, it literally takes under a minute. In fact, it takes 10 to 15 seconds to run this optimization, and that's going to spit out the best results of this strategy. Now remember, we're looking at today's data only. So a good way to confirm that data is just clicking on the chart tab. Now the chart tab is going to show you the data for the trading hours that you've selected. Now I'm just dragging the time scale at the bottom to increase the range. Okay, when the bars are large like this, just hold the Alt button on your keyboard and press the up arrow, and that'll just decrease the size of the bars to make them look more in proportion. Okay, so what this is telling me is that the 136 bar, so the optimization is telling me that 136.24 is so far giving the best settings. So you've got the 136 and you've got 140, you've got 144. You've got a few charts over here that are giving very similar settings. So let's just go with one with the lowest drawdown. So let's work with this one here. So 140 and a 10. So it's entered. So we're going to go and replicate this on a specific chart. So just by holding your mouse over the settings, it's going to tell you that you need to add 140 bar with a 24 baseline width. Okay, so let's just do that first. So we go new chart. We're going to select the MNQ. We're going to match up the settings. So we're going to select 140. So 140 and baseline width in ticks 24. And this is where we're going to select the trading hours. Now notice when I use if I just select one day on the chart, okay, if I select one day on the chart, it doesn't actually bring up one day, it brings it up from the 11th. So 11th of May to the 13th of May. So that's selecting one day on the chart. Okay. I don't know why, in my opinion, if you select one day on a chart, it should show one trading day. If you select 7 days, it should show 10 or 7 trading days. So even if you go here and you go custom range and you select, you only want to see the 12th to the 13th, even if you select that, it's still going to show you from the 11th. So NinjaTrader just needs to sort out this specific feature of the charts, because it's actually very confusing for a lot of people. So hopefully that will be resolved. Even if you select like the 13th to the 13th, now you're going to get today's date. But the thing is if the time was 11 p.m. New York or any time before midnight, you can't select a day ahead. You can only select the 12th. So just before midnight, if you select, you want to see only today's date and you apply that, unfortunately what it does is it's not going to give you today's date. It's actually going to give you yesterday's date as well, 11th and the 12th. So that's why it's very important to go in and select your specific trading hours template that we created. So we're going to select the 6:15 to 3 a.m. Wednesday open, and we're going to select today's date. Let's see if this actually works. Okay, it does. So whatever day you're on, if you just select that specific day, it will select. So a few minutes ago, 11 p.m., I had to select 12 and 12. It wouldn't allow me to go 13 like the optimizer. So the optimizer, you can select a day ahead, but the chart you can't. So that's why it's a little bit of setting up involved to get the same data showing, because it's very, very important to look at the exact same data on your chart as you are seeing in the optimizer. And while you are doing that, you always got to compare your chart settings to your optimizer settings. So looking at the bars, you want to be able to make sure that the bars are lining up exactly right. So I'll just activate something over here. So in the strategy analyzer, in the window, you've got a crosshair that you can select, and if you select global, you select that on there, and then you come back to the chart and you select the same thing on there, global. And then what that does is you're able to look at the analyzer and you can see what the analyzer is doing. You can see the data showing on the analyzer and you can match it up to your specific chart that you have. Because on the occasion, your strategy analyzer will not match your chart, and that's because the data could be corrupted. So you may need to reload your actual data in your data feed, even delete old tick data and let it download fresh data. So the very first thing you do is always compare your data on your chart and your strategy analyzer. Then you know that the results that the strategy analyzer is giving you are actually right. Then the second thing we do is we go and apply the strategy settings that the analyzer has given us to our trading chart. Okay, so we've already done the 140, so there's the 140 and the 24. Now we're going to apply the strategy. So we're going to apply a 10 retracement on reverse. So let's go and activate this. So I'm going to go and select my trading account. I'm going to go to my strategy. I'm going to go to the advanced retracement strategy. I'm going to select 10 and I'm going to select reverse. Again, this is the settings for the strategy. So in the settings, you've got your shortcut to go and view the folder with a bit of documentation on and details about the strategy and this specific setup. Selecting a trading account. I'm not going to be using the stops. I'm not concerned about that. I'm not going to be using the trading hours. I'm selecting on bar close. I'm going wait until flat synchronize account. I'm leaving my slippage in there, and I'm going to enable it. So by selecting wait until flat synchronize account, what that is doing is it's actually going to act on the very next signal. So again, if we go and look at our trading chart compared to our strategy analyzer, so there's the chart, and there's the analyzer. So it's a bit difficult showing this all on one screen, but I'm going to try and match it up as best as I can. So you can actually see the actual trades that were entered. So from the very beginning of the day, you can match up the trades to the analyzer. So those were the trades that the strategy has taken out for the day. Okay. So what we do with the strategy analyzer, while we're waiting for the chart to enter its next position, I will just minimize that, drag that. One more thing, for me to activate the strategy now, if I'm happy that the settings are actually matching correctly, I can go and start the strategy. So now I start the strategy by just clicking on that box over there that says start. When it is green, that means that the strategy is active. If you want to pause the strategy and close off any open positions, you just click the close button over there, and then that will stop the strategy from entering any more positions. So some of the reasons why you may pause the strategy, you might be in a position. So if for example you had activated the strategy a little bit earlier, so we're looking at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Say you activated the strategy at 9 o'clock, you had this trade, the next position entered at 9:15, and the price has gone right up. You could choose to pause the strategy when the price was right up, and what that would have done, it will actually capture whatever move this strategy has entered. Say if you were there as 106 ticks, you would have paused the strategy and you would have basically secured those 106 ticks of profit. And then as soon as you go and start the strategy again, it'll wait for the next position. So that's when you would use the start and the pause to capture certain profits. So as an example over there, you'll be in a buy position and the price is going up the wick. If you choose to capture that profit, you can press pause, or you could just let the strategy continue. It would have come down again and entered its next position over there. Actually, let me just try and make this a little bit bigger so that we can see the actual positioning of the trades. Let's just increase these. Let's make this a 4 and a 4. Let's see if that looks a bit better. Yeah, there we go. So that's going to just show you the history of those specific trades. So as you can see too, this is reversed. So you had a green bar, and it, instead of doing a buy, it did a sell. I mean, sorry, instead of it did a buy, it did a sell. Then it did the same thing over here. You had a red bar, and instead of it doing a sell, it did a buy, green. So that's what happens with this specific setup. It's going to basically do opposite to the trend. That's why we got it on reverse. So you got it on reverse at the top. And now we're just basically waiting for the next signal. So while that is just between a bar at the moment, we're going to have a look at the strategy analyzer, and we're going to look at a few different options over here. So I'll keep it on the chart tab, and we'll start looking at a few different values. So I'm going to leave the retracement as it is. Okay. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to, let's see if I can just get this on the screen nicely so we can all see. this baseline width in ticks, so that is basically the width of these bars over here. Okay, so obviously when the price is zigzagging, it's going to be entering positions on that you know, on this baseline, and that's why you're getting those trades that are each valued at. So you're looking at this trade, you know, it's making 18 ticks, and that's obviously the size of the wick, size of the baseline minus the slippage. So that's the actual profit you're getting on each bar. So even though the bar is a total of you know, from top to bottom of the baseline itself, it's 24 ticks. Your actual trades with the slippage and everything considered, you actually are making 18, 19 ticks per trade. And that's the ones that just enter and exit on the baseline. Okay, so you can go and choose different options for the baseline now. So we've selected 24. Now, if you look at the baseline width of 24, those are the results that it gives. So you can go and experiment with a few different numbers. So you can go, for example, you can go 26. Now notice how the results are you know, you can actually do this in multiple tabs. Let's actually do that so that it's a bit easier to understand. So I'm going to duplicate the analyzer in a new tab. It's going to ask to rerun it again. I wish it didn't, but it does. And then I'm going to right click on it again, and I'm going to go duplicate in new tab, and I'm going to do it one more time, duplicate in new tab. So what that's doing is it's just creating more instances of the analyzer. Okay, now the second one that we're going to select, let's select a 26 as an example, as just the baseline width, and we're going to run that. Next one I'm going to click on. You've got to just also be very careful when you're clicking on within NinjaTrader while it's working. You want to just be very, very careful and slow with it, because it will freeze up if you move too quickly. So that one's at 28. I'm going to run that. Again, I'm going to move my mouse over here. I'm going to wait for that to highlight a color, and then I'm going to click on it once, just once, and hold your thumbs. So 24, 26, 28. Let's try this one as a 30, and we're going to run that. So what's happening now is it's running all different values. It's optimizing the top value, which is the reversal size of the wick, but then it's also going to be changing the baseline. Okay, so our first optimization was done on the 24, and those were the results. The second optimization is done with a 26 bar, and those are the results. So again, you can click on the chart tab, and you can press the Alt button, up arrow, just to get the sizes of the bars right. So we did 24, 26. Next one is 28. We look at the chart again, same type of thing. And the last one we did was a 30. So this is basically telling us the different size bars and the different results that they would give. So we'll go back to the 24. So the 24, as said, the top results were 160, 150, 150. The next one is 26, is 170, 150, 130. So a little bit better for the top one. But I'm also looking at the drawdown values. So 160 with 19, 150 with 3, 170 with 19, 150 with 46. Okay. Next one is 140 with 41, 140 with 45. It's a little bit high there with the settings. This one here, 150. So just by modifying the settings of that baseline width in ticks, we're going to get different values. Okay, so that's why you can do a few optimizations with a few different values like this. And then what you can also do is you can now go into the second one that you created that says 26, and you can go save that as a template. So you can go template, save, and you could click on the last one that you saved and then just make that 26 and then save that. You can click on the next analyzer and you can save this also. So template, save, you can make this one a 28. And I'm going to click on the last analyzer and save this one too as the 30. So I'm going to put 30 over there. So in that way we've just basically saved all the optimizations for that. And the benefit with that is you can go click on the plus button to open up a new analyzer. Very quickly you select your strategy. So we select the advanced retracement strategy. You scroll down to template. You can click on load and you could load up any one of those values like that. It's going to pre-populate everything that you selected in your strategy, including the 28 value, the size of the bars that you're working with, and everything else except for the instrument. You always got to go select the instrument. I don't know why it doesn't save the instrument, but the template does not save the instrument on the strategy analyzer. So all you have to do is select your instrument and then you can click run. So it saves you from setting up the optimizer or the strategy analyzer every time. So that's why it's very quick to basically, create the template, set it up, and then save it. Now you could also go the other way around. You can go to your first one and go 24. You can say, well, let me try a 20. So you can go to baseline width in ticks as 20 and you can run that. You can go to the next one and you can select, again you'll be very just slow clicking this. If you click too fast it's going to freeze. Next one you can go, we went what, 24, 20, let's go 18. So you can run those. So you're running those settings, and then what that's going to do is it's going to optimize the bar size again with that baseline width in ticks, and it's also going to give you values of those baseline widths. So the results is 140 with $3, 8 trades. Next one's 151 with 44 drawdown, 8 positions. So this is when you're just looking at your chart and you can obviously see the baseline width in ticks. That one's still 30. Okay, hang on. So we selected 18. 18 showed 146. 227. So this is a 32 bar with a 20 baseline tick. So you can see the bar size is more in relation to the chart. So what's happening there? Even though it had more of a profit, it had a few more losing positions. That's why it's got a higher drawdown on it. So by constantly using the analyzer, you can vary these different settings over here to find a chart that is giving you the most favorable results. And you don't have to have multiple analyzers running. You can just have 2 or 3, just having a few select bar sizes. And the idea with that is to keep running those optimizations. So this one here has a 20. I'm actually going to save this one. I'm going to save it as a 20. So I'm going to just call this 20. So I've saved a few variations of the bar size, and I can run those as I go. So right now this one here is obviously still working, So I can move the analyzer out the way onto another screen. If you only got one screen, you can just bring it, minimize it and run it as you see fit. Every few minutes is fine to run the optimizer, because what you want to be doing is you want to be trading this. You're going to be working a certain amount of hours running the strategy, however many hours you work. Obviously the Asian session now is a lot slower than the later US session, but using the exact same principle with the exact same type of setups, where you are optimizing your baseline width and you're optimizing your bar size, the analytical bars, and you're choosing a few different instances or a few different variations of your baseline width. That is going to give you the most current set of values that is working and producing the best results. So as an example, I did this exact same approach while nothing is happening at the moment. I'm just going to bring up the folder for the strategy that is, let me just see. So this is the OneDrive folder, the Google Drive folder, and I actually created this when I traded this live the other day. So exactly what we did over here, I did the same thing the other day, and I took screenshots as I was going. So as an example, at that current day, I optimized the settings. It had entered a few trades. So this was from quarter past 6 until about, what's the time exactly? Probably about 9:30, 9:45. So I optimized the strategy and I basically activated it over here. Okay, so that was the first trade, and I kept optimizing the strategy, and I just kept letting it run based on those very specific settings. So that was the first trade that it entered. Then it went down, and this was the second trade that it entered. So as you can see on the left, that was my little account that I used trading this. So I started on 937. I think that was after a trade entered, but anyway, that's so basically this account started on $900. This account was on $900. I had already realized $33 in profits from the trades that had entered. So that's that one. Come on, bring it up again. And the next trade entered there. The following trade entered over there. So you see how it buys and sells based on the values, and you can see the account just creeping up. That was the next trade, and then what happened is it had a losing position over there. So it had a few more winning positions, and then this one ended up being a losing position. But then what happened is the next one was a winning position, and the next trade was a winning position as well. So I had climbed up there. That was the current status of the trade. So I had made $161 in those 10 positions with the one losing position as shown on this chart. So all these trades were successful except for the one losing position. The next, that's the history of the specific trades, and continuing of the history. So it entered another 1, 2, 3 positions afterwards. This is running the strategy analyzer where I was optimizing the value of the bars. And this was my final trading chart. I actually paused the strategy after I hit $300 of trade. So that was basically from this section over here. If you remember the beginning slides, I activated the strategy over here. I let it run this whole time. I had one losing position during that whole period, and it made $300 between 6:15 and 8 a.m. I actually used a larger time slot there. I used a different trading hours, or a larger period of trading hours. And those were the exact results of that strategy that I had run for that period. And I actually ran this unmanaged for a long part. I found the settings that had worked, and then I just let them continue running, basically throughout the session. So that is that. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, so nothing exciting is happening yet. We've only had these few trades. So what I wanted to show you also with this is, this is pretty awesome too. So if you are looking at your trading chart, and all of these positions that you are seeing, these plotted positions, they actually on the opening of those bars. So as an example, if the strategy is in a buy position, so the price would have moved as soon as the strategy entered a position, it entered over there. But what happened is the price actually dropped a little bit first, and then came back up and ultimately increased, came back down again, went up, came down, up, entered another position over there, sell short, it came all the way down here, back up again, open. So you can see the actual movement of the price, how that would have happened. But the idea with this too is you can actually scalp the market while the strategy is running. So while the strategy is running, you can actually go and select an ATM in your in your list. So you can go create an ATM and basically use that ATM in your settings. And then when the trade, for example, so like this one's on a buy, as soon as this one entered a buy position and the price ran down, you could actually do a manual buy position like this. So you could enter a long position over there. You could put your stop. I know this is a slightly larger idea, but you can monitor what's happening with the bar. You could put your entry in, you can put your stop, and then you can actually put your target as even just the center of the bar. So you want to use the center of the bar because you don't want to impact what the strategy is going to enter. So as an example, while waiting for that price to come down, you would have got in at another 28 ticks of profit. So just by entering a manual position at that stage of that running. Now, how do you may be asking, how do you know what's happening on that bar? How do you know when is a good time to buy and when is a good time to sell? Okay, so let's have a look at that. So I'm just going to move this control panel out the way. And I'm going to bring up what I call a signal chart. So just by minimizing this or making it smaller, I'm going to duplicate this chart. So you can just right click in the area of that there. You can go duplicate window, and then you can drag this chart down to the bottom of your screen like this. And what you can do is you can go into your data series. So right click on your chart, go data series, and you can select like an 8 and an 8. And with this, you're using the same custom data series as what you're looking at on the top chart. So that's why I just duplicated that window, because it's just going to keep the same settings in there. So, and I can make the bar width smaller like that. So that's going to give me just an 8-8 chart. I can drag it like that. And then I'm actually going to add some indicators to this chart. So the DTB system that you are subscribed to has got all these indicators included with the DTB name next to them. So one of our most powerful indicators is the shadow trading indicator. So I'm going to load the shadow trading indicator on this chart. Again, there's a folder that you can go and view that tells you more information about the shadow trading. But I'm just going to go and load that up at the moment. So I'm activating the indicator. There's a few little things that I will cover in more detail on another video regarding the shadow trading indicator. But one of the basics to understand is you just got to drag the time scale until you see the red line on the far left of the chart. And if you have done anything to your chart, you always got to make sure you click on the F button. That's to fix the scale. You can remove this crosshair thing just because it might throw off your positioning of your chart. Make sure the arrow is selected on the far right. So you've got that positioning over there. And what this indicator does is it's going to show you divergences. It's going to show you a momentum line in this bluish color here. That's the momentum line. And that's going to give you opportunities to scalp the market. So you can first of all see what the top strategy is doing. And you could enter trades based on what that indicator is telling you that price may be doing. So like I said earlier, you could, if you want to know if you want to look at an option to enter, so I'm just going to activate this again to global. We're going to have a look at this instance over here. So this says a buy. So remember I said the trade entered over there, it bought a position, but the price had dropped down a little bit. Okay, so look at the time that's happening at the bottom of the chart. So that happened at 8:34. Between 8:33, 8:34 and 8:40. So that is the time. It's difficult to see because this top chart is encompassing a lot of ticks, whereas the bottom chart's only 8:8, so the value of the bars are different. But you're looking anywhere between the 8:30 mark and the 8:40 mark. So that's when that wick would have come down. So if we scroll down to the time, now if you're looking at this chart in real time on the far right of the chart, that is what the indicator is going to look like at the time of you of the chart running. That's exactly how it's going to look. The positioning of it now is exactly where the position of it is during live trading. So don't be concerned what's happening on the left of the chart. You only look at the far right of the chart because that's where your trading decisions are being made. So the momentum line will move and do things afterwards, but it's the far right of the chart that is important to pay attention to. Okay, so let's go back to that time. What did I say it was? 12:34, 8:34. Okay, so we're looking at the chart. We've obviously had this big run up over here. Yeah, we're getting to the 8:30 mark. So this was that was on this wick over here. So you see that wick over there? This arrow that we got was on this wick over here. So you're going to have little opportunities to see what the price is doing. You may get yourself an arrow there to say that there's a good chance this price might be going up, even if it's for a short while. That is a time where you can actually, pop on a buy signal and scalp this position upwards. Now, an important thing to also realize is that this momentum line is like a magnet for the price. So sometimes what happens is when the momentum line is below the price like this, it's going to suck the price down. But if that momentum line changes direction and starts coming back towards the price, then it's going to basically revert. So what happened there is the price continued up and the momentum line continued up, so that was why we were getting, you know, basically the momentum line was basically following price up. It wasn't deviating like it had earlier, like this. So it deviated slightly and then it started facing upwards, and you know, now started working more with price and ultimately crossed price. So with the shadow trading indicator, it's going to give you these arrows, it's going to give you these bar colorings. So the green bars that you're seeing is when the buyers are in control, and the gold bars is when the sellers are in control. So that's what you're going to see with this indicator. It's going to give you really good opportunities to buy and sell based on what the price, or based on what the momentum line is doing, and it's going to give you just really good options to be able to scalp the market. And like we're looking at a big wick over here. So if I look at this top chart, you see this big wick over here on top. So this was near the very beginning of the day. It was at 8:10, but we've got a big wick on this chart over there, and that big wick is basically the top over there. So as an example, you know, the price is on a big wick. Oh, it keeps moving. The price is on a big wick over here. In real time, this is exactly what the indicator looks like. So you got some divergences over there, and you got some red sell arrows. Then you got the momentum line just dropping. When that momentum line is facing down, it pulls that price down, and until that momentum line actually comes and crosses over price, you know that that's still going to be running down for a while. So as an example, in this type of thing, if you were just scalping that wick coming back down, the value of that would be somewhere, okay, I've got the toolbar on the left of my chart, so the value of that, looking at this scalping thing, you know, even if you got in a bit late like that, you're following the price all the way. In real time, that's what it looked like. At this time, it's touching the bar. There, it's crossed over the bar. So you still got a good 90 odd tick move in price. And it's only when the momentum line flicks above price, it acts like a magnet again for that price. So you got a similar thing over there where momentum line crossed above, it's facing up. You know, you've got an opportunity to jump into a position. You're watching the momentum line. It's crossing over price. You exit. There's your 100 odd tick move, and that was this large run up. So when you are looking at a position on your strategy, so while the strategy is in a position like it was over there, it was in a buy position this whole way. While it's in the buy position, you wouldn't want to press pause on your strategy, because you are watching the momentum line basically suck this price all the way up. And if you wanted to, you could have actually paused it right on top, and that's anyway when the strategy entered its next position. So that's what I meant by, you know, choosing when to start and pause your strategy based on what the price is doing. Right now, we've got on the far right of the chart, we kind of just got a no man's land type of a situation. We've got divergences here, but we've also got a lot of green and gold bars together. So it's kind of a tug of war at the moment between the buyers and the sellers. So you can't really make an informed decision right now as to where this price is going to go, because the buyers and the sellers are basically just having a tug of war, and the momentum line is with price. So if the momentum line is with the price, it could literally go in any direction. So that's why we always, when we're making a decision, a scalping decision, we want to see that momentum line deviate from the price. Just like that type of thing. We want a deviation from the price with divergences, and then we know there's a very high likelihood that that price is going to come down. So that's a bit of a longer description on the specific indicator, but I think it's really great to look at. And another thing too is you can add on another indicator called the ultimate bands. So DTB ultimate bands is another indicator that you can apply to your chart, and that's also going to give you price bouncing off the band. So when you're looking at price bouncing off bands, you're looking at your momentum line, it's just going to give you, opportunities to buy and sell, scalping opportunities to buy and sell off those bands, but just always pay attention to the momentum line. If I just increase I'm going to just increase the data series on this one just for this specific, just to look at more details on this chart. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this bottom tab, and I'm going to go duplicate a new tab, and I'm actually going to change the data series of this next chart. I'm going to make this like an 8 and a 16 as an example. So a different bar size that we are working with. And the good thing is you can look at how that one is plotting positions on your chart. You can see how that looks. You can also duplicate that again in another chart, and you can choose another size data series. So you might want to go, somebody was working with a 216 as an example. And that's also going to just give you opportunities. You just got to monitor what's happening with the momentum line. It's a bit more jagged in this approach, but it's still going to give you that huge momentum in price, but the price is still coming down. So I view this as basically, the price spiking down is basically enticing sellers into the market, but the true momentum of the market is actually up. So this is what the banks and institutions are planning on doing, and this is what they are showing you. So they're showing you, price coming down, but their true intention is actually to push the price up. And that's very often what happens, is they'll show you one thing but plan on doing another thing. So there's a few different options you could use for your signal chart. And you can even just cycle between those ones at the bottom of your screen, and you can choose which ones are matching your strategy on the top. And it's unfortunate that we haven't had multiple trades on this strategy during this session that I'm recording. It's obviously just a very much slower market at the moment. You can come back to your optimizer and you can go and run that again, and you can see what results that is giving you. So you can go back to your different tabs that you've created, and you can run those again. Just be very, very slow with NinjaTrader, especially while it's calculating optimizations. You just got to click things once and let it think first and catch up, because it doesn't like you clicking too fast on the screen, on the charts or anything really. So there, I clicked once, it almost froze, but there, it's still showing us that these settings that we chose are the best results so far. Now the reason, so that's still showing us that those are the best results. We could have switched over to the 136 bar, but it's still showing us as the favorable bar to use. So obviously during busier market conditions, you're going to have a lot of up and down, up and down. You're going to have lots of trades entering and hitting their profit targets. And the important thing to do is just watch the strategy analyzer, keep that going every few minutes, especially if you get one or two losing positions on your trading chart. If you get a losing position on your trading chart, what you do is, if you want to change your settings for whatever reason, all you do is you click pause on your strategy, right click on your chart, go to your strategies, disable the strategy, change your bar size to whatever you want to use again, go back into your strategy, choose whatever settings the optimizer is giving you, and then go and enable that again and apply. So if for example, and remember, after you hit apply and you're happy with the plotting of the positions and it's matching your strategy analyzer, then you can go click the start button. And the buttons on the strategy have got long only, short only, both. So with those buttons, if you only want to enter long positions, so you only want the strategy to enter long positions, you press the long only. If you only want the strategy to enter short positions, you press the short only. And obviously both will just trade both directions. So obviously if you choose short only, it will take this position over here. It will take that position as a short. And then what it will do is it will exit over there, but it won't do a buy. It'll be flat. And then what will happen is it'll take this next position short. So that's what happens with those buttons there. These buttons here where it says stop ticks off, target ticks off, that just means that in the settings of the strategy, I haven't used this target ticks and the stop ticks. So if you select stop ticks and target tick values, and if you select those values in there, you just have to tick the boxes to say use target ticks or use stop ticks, and in that way it will update this. It'll update this over here to show you the values that you have selected. Okay, and yeah, like I said, unfortunately we haven't had any live trades during the session, but I think it was a really good educational video on how the strategy thinks, how it takes positions, how to set up your optimizer, your strategy analyzer, how to set up your chart. And the idea behind this is to, again, just trade specific periods of the day that you select as your trading hours. You optimize those specific hours and you trade it for those periods. So you might choose an hour, you might choose 2 or 3 hours of trading time, and in those 2 or 3 hours, especially during the the mid-afternoon, early afternoon US, you're going to have quite a few positions that the strategy is going to enter, just like I showed on the last just like I showed over here. You're going to have a lot more positions basically entering. As you can see, the trades were entering 306, 330, 330, 440, 518, 520. So they were entering more frequently, and so a lot more can happen during that time. So I think I've covered everything that I needed to cover with this video. Definitely feel free to scalp the market, even while you are waiting for the strategy to enter positions. I have not taken any scalping positions over here, purely because the momentum line is with price. So even though I saw an arrow to buy over there and arrows to sell over there, it just was not giving me a powerful signal like that was giving, as an example, with all those divergences, momentum line dropping like crazy. So if you scroll back on the chart, what you're seeing on the far right is exactly what is going to be looking like in real time. And the further the momentum line is away from price, the bigger the pull is going to be for that trade to for that price to run down. So let me just load a few days on here, and we can have a look at a few examples of how the indicator is showing you very solid instances of buying and selling. So the momentum line, like I mentioned, is absolutely key in determining the buying and the selling. Like we viewed this one earlier, a huge deviation, but then it started coming up. So always be mindful that if you are in a short position like this, and then you have the momentum line shoot up, just be mindful that you could be stopped out, or move your stops closer in case that does continue up like that. But very often, like as an example over here, you had this deviation of price, momentum line facing down, continuing down, beautiful scalping opportunities over there. And this is going to continue throughout the chart. That's another beautiful example over there. We have, so if you're watching this in real time as the price is forming, this is near the close actually. You've got the momentum line deviation from the price. It's quite a high deviation. It's quite a far deviation from price. And you've got your buy arrows here with your divergences. And you get a nice run up until the momentum line comes back over price. So if you scroll back on your chart, you're going to notice this. And even if you just want to apply this indicator to a chart and run market playback and actually see how this thing operates in real time, it is quite phenomenal actually. So again, you know, like for example over here, we've had all these divergences. Momentum line has come below price. But as you notice that the momentum line is still with price. So it's still with price, still with price. You do not want to be selling in that type of a situation, even though you are seeing all these divergences. You really want to wait for a situation like that, where there's a huge deviation away from price, to enter a position, and ultimately what will happen is it'll either have a nice long run down, or it will give you divergences in the opposite direction and the momentum line will change direction. Another beautiful option. So this indicator especially, you know, always pay attention to the very far right of the chart. It's going to give you some really exciting opportunities to enter and exit the market while you are waiting for your strategy to enter its position. Great. I think that's all I want to cover for this. I hope it was informative, and I hope that you guys will spend some time on this strategy. I think it is extremely powerful. You've got a very, very high percentage accuracy rate with this. A very, very high percent accuracy rate. You just need to modify the size bars that you're optimizing. Make sure you're looking at what the analyzer is telling you, and starting and pausing your strategy, you know, modifying your settings, and let it run while you are watching what the market is doing, and maybe even taking some scalping opportunities if you don't want to rely on the strategy to enter all the positions. Great, thank you for your time, and chat soon. Cheers.